What's going on, everybody? It's Blake here with Trade Tracer. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. As always, none of this is financial advice. Always trade and invest at your own risk. All right, so today is Friday, December 11th, and we are in a 2-day no trend on the market. Now, when we go into no trend, my and also your number one priority should be preservation of capital. When we enter into no trend and downtrend, the odds are no longer in our favor. When we have uptrend, when we enter uptrend, we have great odds. This is an uptrend. This is an uptrend. This is an uptrend. You can see when we enter uptrend, we have the market in our corner and we trade relative strength. We pick the stocks that are making new highs and showing leadership. And if you go back through our playbook, you will realize that the majority of plays that triggered did pay. So from now on, until we get back above the 10-day moving average and until we reclaim trend, I am in playing defense mode. I am in preservation of capital mode. Now, in my last video, I mentioned that the week coming up, which was this past week, is the infamous week before OPEX. And those of you that have followed me for a while know that on the week before OPEX, we oftentimes see pivotal lows heading into OPEX next week. Now, are those pivotal lows in? Who knows? Nobody knows. But I can tell you it does oftentimes happen. And if we can get back above the 10-day moving average, I will go ahead and get long once again versus my stop. And my stop would be this pivotal low. So Friday's low would be the stop versus any new long market exposure. Very, very simple. All right. Right now, the best thing to do is to keep it simple. We have broken trend. We're in no trend. And until we reclaim this 10-day moving average, I'm sitting in cash. And once we close on a daily candle closing above the 10-day moving average, which is basically Friday's high, which is basically, I'm recording this on Friday, today's high. Until we can close above that high, I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines. Also, a key level and a key trend line that I'd like to point out, we go ahead and pull up a 15-minute chart. Let's go actually pull up an hourly chart. So this trend line is also something that I'm watching very closely. So if we can break above this downtrend line, whoops, here we go. And you can see actually we're pretty much breaking above it right now on the close that we had on Friday. So this is actually setting up fairly well for a potential week before OPEX, pivotal low, rip to new highs on OPEX or week of OPEX. And you can see this 364, 40 area, which is a very key important level that I had identified, seems to be a level of interest. And so far we have held that level. And this level is actually a previous breakout high. So if we go back to the daily time frame, you guys will see this was the high that we put in on the vaccine news, and we actually just sold off all day on that. I said once we get it back above here, I will add long market exposure. We had a nice little rip, started to get a little extended, and I said, hey, be careful, be cautious. We're getting a little extended. And what do you know, a week before OPEX, we start to sell off. Now, does that mean that we're going to have more selling into next week? Not necessarily, but we don't have momentum in our favor anymore. So we do have a MACD bearish crossover. We are closing below the 10 MA. We're in a 2-day no trend. And so plain and simple, we don't have odds in our favor. So when we don't have odds in our favor, it's not the best idea to go ahead and be leveraged long and be trying to overtrade. Just not a smart move and not a good recipe for sustained success in the market. The best traders that I know of exercise discipline and patience. They understand where they're going to enter. They understand where they're going to take their profits, and they understand where they're going to take a loss. And right now, when we go into no trend, like we are in right now, I'm sitting in cash. Plain and simple, once we get back above the 10 MA, once we reclaim trend, I will start to go ahead and add long market exposure once again. But until then, I'm going to be exercising a lot of patience and a lot of discipline and not over trading. So that's something that I would highly recommend, especially if you're not a seasoned trader. If you're new to this, you really need to pick your spots and trade when the trend is in your favor. All right, so now that I got that out, let's go ahead and look at some of the ETFs. Bonds are still looking like they could potentially break above this 50-day moving average. We peaked our head above it today, but closed below that 50-day moving average. We do have a MACD bullish crossover. Bonds could be something that we could start to allocate in the long-term investment portfolio, provided the market enters a downtrend. All right, but until then, staying away from bonds, not my cup of tea. I like momentum. Gold, similar story. We do have a MACD bullish crossover on gold. Key level I'm watching here is this 174.31 was a previous low. If we can get it back above that, and then confirm price strength above 176 level, I will likely go ahead and take some gold. Silver is also something that I'm keeping a very close eye on. Looked like we wanted to break out. I had this 2304 level. Never confirmed price strength above that 2304 level, so technically it didn't trigger. Intraday it did, but from a swing trading perspective, we do need to see a close above that level. But you can see we're still just hanging out right at this downtrend line. If we can break above the downtrend line and then confirm price strength above this level, I think silver is set up very nicely to run a lot higher. Biotechs, you guys know, biotechs definitely have my interest. You can see this line was a previous all-time high dating back to, I believe, 2015, maybe 2016, 2015. So we did break out, retest, and now we're ripping higher once again. This could be something that we start to allocate in our long-term investment portfolio. I think biotechs are something that is definitely going to lead, provided the market wants to go higher. Some of the tech names actually, like Amazon, are rolling over a little bit. You know, we're below the 10 and the 50-day moving average with a bearish MACD, not something that I like to see. Facebook is something that's similar, but we're kind of wedged between this VWAP. Snow, also wedged between these two VWAPs, held the 10 MA today. Microsoft looked like we wanted to roll over today, peaked its head below here. Technically didn't trigger from a swing perspective because we need to close below this level. Had a nice rally today. Still need to get back above. I'd say the 215.75 could be a good spot to take Microsoft long if you're interested in that aspect. Let's see, what else do we have here? One thing to keep an eye on is the oil and gas sector. So the XOP is starting to get some momentum. And if we scroll out and look at the higher time frames, you can see that on a monthly time frame, we have new lows without MACD on a monthly time frame. So this could be a very bullish and aggressive rip higher if this decides it wants to go. Now on a monthly time frame, this is an investment time frame horizon, right? We do have a MACD bullish crossover. We're above the 10 MA on the monthly. We go ahead and look at the weekly. The weekly is looking pretty darn good. So we're back above the 50 MA on the weekly and the 10 on the weekly, with MACD starting to move above the zero line. So keep a close eye on names like MRO, Halliburton. So those are some of the names that are going to be on my watch list heading into next week, because I do think that these oil and gas names are going to start catching even more of a bid. Now, I know they've had a nice run up, but in my opinion, they could just be getting started. Let's see a couple of our plays that we had this week. Zillow absolutely just was showing incredible strength the past 3 days. We had a trigger of 115.65, paid really fat, closed at all-time highs today. That looks really good. Johnson & Johnson also has some relative strength today, break above the downtrend line, had the trigger 150.31, also showed some relative strength today, so that was a good one. Also, the Schrodinger. Now, on last week's video, I said this could be a potential good pullback buy in this area because we had the 10 MA and this anchored VWAP acting as support. And you can see kind of just hung out here, and finally today, ripped higher and confirmed price strength confirmation. So that is a very strong setup. Could be setting up for an ad next week for us. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that as well. Rocket is something also that I'm watching. We still, in my opinion, need to get back above both of these VWAPs in order for this to have some real momentum. But it's setting up. Could be a play for us next week. definitely going to be something that we're keeping an eye on. DraftKings has been one of our plays. DraftKings still above the 10 and the 50. Looks like it actually closed just on the 10 in May today. So kind of in this chop zone right now, losing momentum. Original entry was back here at the 40 level. So it was a very, very nice play for us. Citigroup also bull flag breakout, looking very strong as well. But you can see we're losing some momentum on Citigroup. Now, last one here, Bitcoin. All my crypto fans. All right, so Bitcoin came back, tested pretty much this all-time high back around 20,000. Did a double top so far here on the daily time frame. What I'm looking for is a pullback to this anchored VWAP, which was technically right now it's right around that 1,500 level, 1,460 level. If it comes back and pulls into this range, I think that would be a good long-term dip buy. So if you're somebody who believes in Bitcoin and believes in the technology and is planning on holding for 10 years, I think this is going to be a great spot to go ahead and buy. Could it go lower? Absolutely, but if you really got to pick your spots if you're trying to be a pullback buyer. So keep a close eye on this 1,450, 1,500 level. Could be a good area of interest to see if buyers step up to the plate. Now, just to wrap up, once again, we do have no trend on the market. Keep things simple. When we're in no trend, we don't have the market in our favor. We don't have momentum. I like to trade with momentum and trend. When we don't have those two things, the best thing for me in my trading system is just to sit on the sidelines, exercise some patience and some discipline, wait for markets to regain that trend. And once it does, you better believe I'm going to be hitting it hard. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.